What's up, everyone? Welcome. I am Brian Jester, co-founder here at Occupy Fantasy. This is our yearly NFL Pro Bowl DFS strategy and lineup advice video, both for FanDuel and DraftKings. All the tips and picks you need to be profitable for tomorrow's Showdown Pro Bowl single game slate. One of the biggest edges in DFS that we can find. Of course, I'm joined as always on our Twitch streams by Moose, data expert here. Did a lot of research and digging, and Moose, you've done a lot of work as we did last year and in years past
hmm
for this incredible Pro Bowl slate. What's up?
What's up, man? I'm doing great. Uh, Again, as you know, years go by, you refine your skill. You learn how to do things a lot quicker than when you used to do them years before. So I've done a lot more research since I've had a lot more time in between helping you out with the props guide, which we'll talk about more later on. But yeah, I'm really excited. Found a couple edges. I think the field's gonna be a little bit sharper as they always turn to be. Um, but hey, you never know.
Yeah, we've seen on Twitter more sites putting content out. Still don't think they have it to the level that we have, and I still don't think that the entire field, as you'll see in some of these charts and images we show over the course of these 30 minutes. So be sure to stay tuned through the entire video. We're going to talk about, here's a couple things, just so you know what we're going to talk about, that way you know what you're getting into. First, rules and player usage that make the Pro Bowl DFS slate so unique and profitable. Then we'll talk about salary usage, how the field and how the top 1% allocated their salary last year.
Mhm.
We'll talk about historical positional scoring averages for each position in the Pro Bowl. So you get a sense of, as you can see on screen here, some of the highs and lows and averages for each position. Talk about how tight ends are gold, the most important position in Pro Bowl DFS. We'll get to kickers and defenses, where normally punts are actually pretty important in Pro Bowl DFS. We'll differentiate low risk versus high risk lineup building, talk about different strategies there. And we'll end, so stick around if you're an OccupyFantasy.com member, how to use DFS Magic exclusively for the Pro Bowl slate, because we've made some changes to help you get ready to create tons of lineups for tomorrow's slate. If you're watching this replay on YouTube, do us a favor, click that subscribe button below. That way you're notified when any of our videos are released. Give us a thumbs up if you like the video. Leave a comment below if you have questions. We're going to be around for the next 24 hours. So any questions you have about the slate, we'll answer them for you. If you're watching live on Twitch, what's up? Hop in the chat, ask us questions, and be sure to click that follow button above if you're not already. So Moose, this chart we have on screen, we'll get to it here in a second as I see some of our guys are in the chat. Jake the Snake, Bismo, Tick Tick Boom. Lots of folks in the chat. So if you have questions, definitely ask them. Moose, what are some of the rules before we get into the positional scoring? Some of the rules and player usage that makes the Pro Bowl such a big edge.
Yeah. So again, as you know, one of the big things is there's a lot more players for like wide receivers, running backs. They've you can't play nickel or dime, so that helps some of the slot wide receivers. There's a couple more. I know they're relaxing the false start. And one thing that maybe I'm overestimating that they're doing this year is there's not going to be onside kicks. There's going to be the option of doing a 4th and 15. So that may be one, two, three more pass attempts, one, two more targets for some of your players. I think that's going to be a lot bigger change than everyone else. I know you and people in our Occupy staff chat don't necessarily think that that's going to be as big, but I think it's going to be big. I can almost feel someone getting tilted on a like 75-yard 4th and 15 touchdown. But yeah, did I miss anything?
I don't think so. I think you hit on the big thing. So there are going to be three quarterbacks for each side, four running backs for each side. So they're splitting time. So that's why you see on this chart here, the highs and lows are both much lower for those positions because they are splitting so much time. And the biggest thing is tight ends. There's only two per team,
Mm-hmm.
but the rules dictate you have to have a tight end on the field at all times for every offensive play. So they get a lot of run. And as a result, defenses aren't allowed to do any exotic coverages. They can't play nickel or dime. They have to play base. They can't blitz. There's only like three coverages they're allowed to run.
Mm-hmm.
So it really opens it up for tight ends to run against linebackers, slot receivers to run against linebackers. It's a big reason why those are the two positions we target the most on this slate.
Yeah, and as you can see here, outside of what was it, Sherman last year, who went off for 19 points or whatever.
Is that what that orange dot is all the way at the top?
It is, yes, it is, yes. You'll see that what has
Actually,
like,
let's, before can you explain this chart really quickly for someone who may not know what it means?
yeah. So this is a Boston Whiskers chart, um, labeled by the positions. As you can see, you should be able to see a line, horizontal line in the middle or close to the middle of each box. That is the average for that position over the last 3 Pro Bowls. So, for example, the quarterbacks average like 4.3. Um, the top and bottom are the quartiles, and then the bins, the little lines at the very top and the very bottom, are like the 90% ranges.
Got it. That makes sense. So 90% of the time you're going to fall within that. So if you're a quarterback, 90% of the time you're going to fall between 1 point and 10 points.
Yep, exactly. In the Pro Bowl. Yep.
Yeah, but whereas a receiver, 90% of the time could fall anywhere between 0 and up to 15, 16 points.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Very interesting. So just so people know, the historical averages, if you can't see the lines or if you're too lazy to look, averages for each position. And this is important for low risk contests, high risk contests. Quarterbacks and running backs average just over 4 points per game in the Pro Bowl. This is DraftKings scoring, by the way, 4 points per game.
Yep.
Wide receivers, 4.9 points. However, if you break it out between slot receivers and outside receivers, the slot receivers jump significantly.
Mm-hmm.
Tight ends average 8.4 DraftKings points per game, the best of any positional player. Defenses average 9.5 points. Now, this is skewed a little bit by last year's AFC 17-point DraftKings performance. But still, if you look at the chart, what the lowest the defense has ever scored in the last 3 years in the Pro Bowl is 5 points. So incredible floor, incredible ceiling, and even kickers average 7.5 points per game. So pretty impressive.
I know. I mean, the DraftKings winner last year, and we'll get more into salary usage and stuff like that, but had a defense captain, a quarterback, and 4 tight ends, and left like, I don't know, what was it, like $25,000 left to salary or something?
Yeah, tons of salary left over. So let's get to that. Let's get to the salaries if you want to pull up that chart. So when we play regular showdown slates in NFL, we talk about leaving a salary on the table. However, it's nowhere near as much as you need to leave over on the Pro Bowl slate because we aren't playing the most expensive players. Quarterbacks and running backs, we're not really playing them. And so if you look here, this chart that we're looking at is last year's DraftKings big GPP for the Pro Bowl. And the blue line is the entire field. How many people were in this contest? It was like 10, 20,000 people.
I think it was like 35,000 people.
So 35,000 people. Out of all 35,000 people, this blue line is how much salary they used. So
and just to cut you off, I've rounded each one into the nearest thousand, so you don't see like random spikes and stuff like that. But yeah, so basically 50% or more of the people use that top of as much salary as they possibly could.
Yeah, so 50% of the people use 40,000 more, which even 40,000 is what, 80% of the cap.
Mm-hmm.
Still not enough. Look at the orange line. Look at the spikes in the orange line. The top 0.1% of people left at least $18,000 left over. And this is going to be a thing because you're playing more tight ends, you're playing more kickers, you're playing more defenses. You might play one quarterback, and that's why you get this big salary jump. So number one key for DraftKings and FanDuel as well, you're going to leave tens of thousands of dollars left over in salary. Don't be concerned. That's the proper way to do this slate.
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine you have. I would imagine you have a lot of casuals play this contest. They think, okay, they're giving me 50, 40,000, whatever it is to go, and you put in this is who I think it is, and you're like, man, I got 20,000 left over. That can't be right. If they're giving me this amount of money, I got to play someone more expensive. Let me fit this in. I think that's just how some players are going to take it. When the other way, there's so many different rule changes and playing time. I mean, if I see myself going even close to that 80% of the salary cap, I'm going to back off.
Yeah, you have to. So I think even setting your max salary in DFS Magic or whatever optimizer you use, max 40,000 usage on DraftKings, max 50,000 usage on FanDuel, even less probably. So yeah, that's important. And the other thing is there aren't a ton of 150 maxers on the Pro Bowl slate. Last year there were a handful. So it's also an edge in some of these GPPs where we're generally skeptical of playing if you're not maxing, but because the edge is there and because there aren't a ton of 150 maxers, This is one of the rare slates was that you can actually enter a max GPP without putting the maximum in.
Yeah, that, and don't forget, you're going to have a bunch of satellites for the big game. Big game satellites are out on DraftKings for the Pro Bowl.
Yes.
I'm going to be doing a lot of my allocation towards that.
Definitely. Absolutely. So, all right, let's keep it moving. Guys, if you have questions in the chat, if you're watching this live on Twitch, go ahead and ask them. If you're watching on YouTube, again, you can leave a comment and we can answer your question as well. All right, so let's talk about these tight ends. Let's bring up the Wikipedia page. A lot of people have asked us, what's the best place to get Pro Bowl rosters? Because a lot of the articles, even NFL.com, has outdated rosters from the initial voting, whereas players who are in the Super Bowl, players dealing with injuries, players who just purely opted not to play have backed out. They've put in the alternates. Wikipedia, the 2020 Pro Bowl page is the best place to get the updated rosters. It's updated really quickly. So let's see here. So we have from the AFC, Travis Kelce, obviously in the Super Bowl, he will not be playing. So Mark Andrews and Jack Doyle are the two guys from the AFC side. If you scroll down on the NFC, they have Zach Ertz was initially voted in. He's out. I think he's listed as questionable on DraftKings and FanDuel. So hopefully people play him. And George Kittle also voted in. He's playing in the Super Bowl. So the two alternates are Jared Cook and Austin Hooper. So we got Hooper and Cook, Andrews and Doyle. These guys should be keys to your lineup.
I mean, yeah, there's no other way around it. I would even say start your lineup with both, from each side. Let's say, who do you like? Let's say I like Hooper better. Start Hooper, and then scroll up and we'll go. Let's see. Oh yeah, Mark Andrews. I like Mark Andrews. Let's put him in, and then start right there. You at least need 1-2 tight ends, and I'll tell you why. Because
at least two, right?
At least two. So again, going back to last year's GPP, which is really the only one we have, because prior to that they had the defensive players, IDPs Showdown, which I wish they would bring that back, but that's a different story. Across all of the entrants last year, the average lineup had 0.94 tight ends in it. It seems dumb.
However, basically, the average lineup across all 35,000 people used one tight end, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. The top 1% of lineups averaged 2.5 tight ends. That difference of over 1.5 was the greatest of any position. The only one that was relatively close to that was defenses, where top 1% averaged 1, and the rest of the field averaged 0.1.
That makes sense. And last year was kind of an anomaly too, where the AFC scored 17 points, so that's why that number is skewed a bit. Mm-hmm. But tight ends has been consistent year after year that they're the position you want to target. Mm-hmm. And I would say, I mean, if you're making one lineup, I would just start with 4 tight ends and then go from there. So, question from Tick Tick Boom in the chat says, is there any game theory with Pro Bowl? Do players on their first or second trip outperform the guys who've been there multiple times? Not necessarily. I mean, maybe you can read into some, but really the best bet is to make a ton of lineups with as much, as long as it fits within your bankroll allocation. Mm-hmm. Jam in tight ends, defenses, and kickers. Add in slot receivers. Maybe add in a quarterback or two. And just get as many combinations as you can. Target satellites, high-risk contests, and even low-risk contests, because you're going to find if you find any contests against players without experience badges moves, I guarantee you'll be able to crush head-to-heads.
Oh, absolutely. I'm just trying to look now if there are any. There's one guy right now in the DraftKings $1 head-to-head without an experience badge has posted a thing. So if you want to go there, attack. Really quick question for you. I know we talk about mass multi-entering for the Pro Bowl, and they do have the mini max here. It's for 50 cents, so $75 for the 150 entry max. Does it make sense to, for example, they have two 10-cent dime packages, one for 20 entry max and one for 10 entry max? If you use DFS Magic, hey, let's make 30 lineups, put 20 in here and 10 more unique ones in the other contest. Does that something like that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And it was actually, I did a podcast this week with Colin Drew of Daily Roto, and he's had a lot of success in Showdown. He was saying that earlier in the season, and he's 150 maxer, but the concept applies here too. Earlier in the season, DraftKings was having like their primetime Showdown slates. They would have a big contest where it's like 250K to first, but then a smaller contest that was like 100K to first, and they were both 150 max. And what he would do, he would create 300 lineups, put 150 in one, 150 in the other, and have a 300 times chance at 100K plus. And I think you can do the same here. If you enter a contest under 20 max plus 10 max plus 5 max, make as many as you can, and then and then split them across those lineups if you're not comfortable with 150.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty solid right there. Yeah, I don't really see why DraftKings is making it really well for people. They can do that kind of allocation. Small bankroll size, small entry fees, and then especially with the satellites as well. I mean, I can't preach that enough. You have 25-cent satellites for the big game, 20 max there. It's always a good way to start.
They have 10-cent satellites too. Like, go for it. That should be what you should be targeting for sure.
Jake says he got the no badge guy.
Hell yeah, Jake! Way to go. You stole it before any of us could. So good work.
Nice. And we got a couple questions in here. So from Jake, do you think playing both defenses is a bad idea?
I don't think so, especially low risk. Maybe high risk, it's not as great. But as we've seen the last 3 years, no defense has scored less than 5 points, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So, it's a great way to build your floor. I mean, honestly, on DraftKings, without giving away a lineup, I would say 4 tight ends, 2 defenses is probably the optimal low risk lineup. Maybe kickers, I don't know, but some combination of that. So high risk, maybe I would limit it to max 1 defense. But yeah, you're in good shape either way.
Yep, agree with you on that. And just to say about 2 defenses, I know sometimes we'll play 2 defenses in regular Showdown because we're trying to save some salary. But the way roster construction is here, you don't necessarily need to do that to save salary.
Yeah, exactly, 100%.
Yep. From Tick, does Lamar factor change how you view rostering quarterbacks?
No, I know Lamar is very different. But if you look at we're just looking at the last 3. We could go back even further. A lot of these trends hold. But no quarterback has rushed more than 2 times in the Pro Bowl. So they're not going to have Lamar out there running around, running read options. And the fact is they blow the whistle so quick, like especially on a quarterback, if he's touched, most of the time they'll call the play dead. So the rushing ceiling is not nearly as there as it would be for Lamar on a normal slate. So no, I'm not changing the way I play. Although I would maybe consider him more than most quarterbacks, just because maybe around the goal line they give him a carry or something. But
oh yeah, absolutely. I was trying to look here. The closest person I think you could probably compare Lamar to is probably Michael Vick, and I was just trying to see if I could find the 2004 Pro Bowl box score, but apparently stuff like that gets lost at the end of time.
Just lost on the internet. People can find everything on the internet, but they can't find the 2004 Pro Bowl box score.
Yeah, well, to be honest, I didn't really look that hard.
I'll see if I can find it while we're looking here.
Perfect. Bismo made a point, says last year FanDuel has had Pro Bowl Superflex, which is sick. People played so suboptimal. Yeah, people still play Superflex on optimal, whether it's main slates, college football. They just don't know how to play it. So
right, and especially I imagine people think, I got to play 2 quarterbacks in Superflex. It's just ingrained in their brain here, but yeah, you got to remember Superflex tight end.
Yep, completely agree on that one. Let's see. Biz says, I think CJ Ham is viable and a great high-risk pivot off of probably high-owned juice. What do you think?
I mean, maybe he pulls an Anthony Sherman. CJ Ham is the fullback representative on the NFC. Maybe he does Bismo. We'll see. I know Sherman went off last year, and maybe they do use him pretty significantly. But again, yeah, he will be. He's like $600 on DraftKings, so he'll be super cheap, super low owned. So not the worst high risk play in the world in case he does get some Anthony Sherman usage. So.
But even then, Sherman wasn't in the winning GPP lineup because he was that low owned.
That's true. In the play action, he was some genius captained him. But on in the big $8, $10 one, whatever it was, he wasn't in the winning lineup. So yeah, even if CJ Ham goes off, he probably won't be. All right, so we talked about tight ends, kickers, and defense. We talked about briefly. Moses, would you consider captaining a kicker or defense in high risk?
I mean, the last year's one did it, so why not?
That's true. I mean,
Yeah,
I
I
get
mean,
it.
yeah, I think so. I think as we talk about the field, I think we'll get a little sharper this year. So that's definitely one way to differentiate it. The
Because
especially
if the field does get sharper, I imagine that tight end captain usage will be way higher, right?
yeah, and I mean, just looking here, 70+% of the money is on the over in this game. So
Of
I don't
course.
think why people don't want like a high. Who wants a low scoring Pro Bowl? To be honest, so I think,
Sharks.
so I think again playing that game theory to your advantage, where I think everyone's going to play. They want for a high scoring game. What's way that I can differentiate from that? Let's do a defense and captain spot. That's something I could see us doing.
Yeah, hell, even kicker. Justin Tucker was kicking 70 yarders in practice. They might give him a chance. So,
Yeah.
especially someone like him who's like can kick, obviously has a huge leg. Not the worst idea to captain a kicker. This may be the only time we'll recommend captaining a kicker on a showdown slate in high risk.
Yeah, I can see that. What about in low risk? Do you think that that's possible in low risk?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you that too. So I think low risk, like I said, you get the four tight ends, and maybe on FanDuel even you captain him or MVP a kicker because you can't use defenses there in a single game contest. And kickers defenses have some of the highest floors. I think four tight ends and a kicker is probably the highest floor lineup on FanDuel.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that. That makes really good sense. I'm trying to get the damn prop guide command to work. Nightbot says it's available. So I'm actually just gonna paste what it's supposed to say in the chat here. For those who don't know, our Super Bowl props guide will be available soon. I believe we're shooting for tomorrow. It'll
Yep.
be available for Discord members only. Last year went 25% ROI, which is just incredible. Um, each prop that is going to be widely available, what side to bet, and then the most important part is when to bet it. And do you want to go into a little bit of detail on that, Brian?
Yes, I know this is the Pro Bowl video, but this is coming up quickly as well, and it's only available for our Discord chat members. Which the way to get Discord access is to become a subscriber here to us on Twitch. You can get it for free with Amazon Prime. It gets you access to our community Discord where people are chatting, and we'll post a guide in there tomorrow. And so we've been doing Super Bowl props since 2013. We have not had a losing season since. And a big reason, which we'll talk about in tomorrow's podcast, by the way, we're going to talk about props in general, why the Super Bowl is so profitable.
Mm-hmm.
And this guide, we give you what the line should be for every prop, what the line you should be looking for to bet, and then most importantly, based on the history of what the public does, tells you when to bet. So if you need to make a bet now to get the best line, we'll tell you. If you need to wait until the Super Bowl is about to start, we'll tell you. So Super Bowl props guide from Occupy Fantasy available only through the Occupy Fantasy Discord channel, which is accessed by being a Twitch subscriber to us
I
here.
know.
So
Yeah, I will say there are some props that are saying wait until game day, like the absolute last possible minute, because you'll think it'll be 2 hours before game day, and you're like, this line can't drop any farther, and it does, and it does.
hell
So
yeah.
you'll have your mobile apps, you'll be in line, waiting, and then just like 5 minutes before game day hits, so go up to the ticket counter if you're like we'll be in Vegas or on your mobile app if you're in one of the legal states that do it, um, and just hammer that best line. And I'll also say really quick, while you're looking for props, if you are in a place that has multiple sports books or you have multiple outs or something like that, look for middles, arbitrage opportunities. We'll go into more detail on the podcast tomorrow, but I've already seen a handful, if not more, of arbitrage opportunities that could pay for a 4-hour drive to one of these legal states.
Yeah, definitely. For sure. I mean, this is one of the rare opportunities where it is worth driving to a legal state to play.
Yep.
So
Exactly.
All right, so we got Tick Boom again in the chat. If you were going to roster receiver, do you have any leans? Yeah, definitely lean receiver first of all, and then also lean slot receiver. After that, then I think the AFC has the slot receivers we want: Jarvis Landry, Keenan Allen. I know buy low receivers does not work this way most, but it was interesting to me when I looked last year. Jarvis Landry had 170 some air yards in this game, had 0 fantasy points.
Wow.
So the Pro Bowl hashtag buy low underperforming is in full effect. But yeah, slot receivers because defenses can't put a nickel defensive back on the field. Can't get that third cornerback out there. The slot receivers running again. Linebackers and safeties. So Keenan Allen, Jarvis Landry, and I think there's one more, right? If you scroll up to the the AFC Pro Bowl roster.
Let's see.
I can't remember what the other one was. Tyreek.
Yeah.
Oh, he's not playing. Tyreek's not playing. But Keenan Allen, Jarvis Landry, the two leading the most. I guess Michael Thomas from the NFC side will run a bunch from the slot. So those are the guys that we would prefer at the receiver position.
Yeah. So then, if you're talking about mass multi entering, we've partnered with DFS Magic. Let's see if this command actually works.
I know I was gonna say. Let's see.
No, it doesn't. Nightbot is ruined right now. Nightbot's taking the day off.
It is for some reason. So DFS Magic, for those of you listening, that is a lineup builder that we partner with. We actually had some input in creating. Right now, it's only available to members of OccupyFantasy.com. It's free for those members for beta testing of DFS Magic. And literally, no one else can use DFS Magic, just Occupy Fantasy members. Mm-hmm. And we've actually talked to Jack, creator of DFS Magic, to get this working for the Pro Bowl. And can you bring DFS Magic up and we can run through it to tell people how to use to make multiple lineups for tomorrow's slate?
Yeah, absolutely. Turns out Nightbot was just sleeping. He actually wasn't turned on, so that's why he is on now.
Yeah, Nightbot. Okay, so let's get DFS Magic. So DFSMagic.com. If you are an Occupy Fantasy member, if you don't have access, send us an email or reach out to us on Twitter and we'll get you set up. Mm-hmm. So as you'll see here, both FanDuel and DraftKings Showdown is set. Mostly scroll down. And the DFS Magic usually pulls values from our Occupy model. Right? We have our OF index. We pull from the model for each sport. Obviously, there's not a model for the Pro Bowl. So what do we do? And this is what we recommend doing for preseason 2 when preseason NFL rolls back around, or probably when XFL, a little foreshadowing here, when XFL rolls around. What we did, we already preloaded the model values for DFS Magic for the Pro Bowl slate. We put the guys who we think have the best chance of scoring, and we assign them numbers. So tight ends get the highest number, defense is right behind them, kickers are in there, slot receivers a little higher than outside receivers. All of that is in DFS Magic for you, ready to go. We already did that work for you. All you got to do is go in there, change the settings, and get going making lineup.
Yeah, can we test it for 20 lineup real quick if you have time?
Yeah, so I wanted to show people. And Jake says we forgot to rank Ham. We gave him a 0. So if you guys really like CJ Ham, it's a nice thing about DFS Magic. You can alter his value for him. So go ahead and put whatever model value you want for CJ Ham and those other guys we didn't rank. The big thing, so Moose, if you scroll up to the top, the guided player pool setting, maybe we set that, and then we can pick which captains we want.
Yeah, so, we're not going to use any quarterbacks. We're not going to use any running backs. I would just say only tight ends and defenses.
And receivers, too, I think.
Okay.
And kickers. Yeah, so maybe we use our 3 slot receivers. Maybe we use all 4 tight ends, both kickers, both defenses.
Okay, so we'll do that, and then we'll hit set my player pool. So now we have our player pool set. And then let's just go to the wide receiver captains really quick. And see, Michael Thomas, Keenan Allen, Jarvis Landry. They're at a model value of 7. They're the top-rated players. Also good on that. And again, we can dive more into detail about. Let's put some target exposure on really quick. So I'll do a target exposure on a player for flex. You do one on flex, and then we'll go from there. Does that sound cool?
Yeah, for sure. Let's do it.
Cool. So, absolutely need to make Mark Andrews, Jack Doyle available. I'm going to say, this may even be aggressive, I'm going to say 50% Austin Hooper.
Yeah, I would, honestly, I don't even think it's crazy to lock all 4 tight ends and then just rotate around those guys if you're making 20 lineups or even 150 lineups. I don't think it's the craziest thing, but for purposes of using this, let's put 50 or 75 for each tight end.
Okay. So
just for purposes. I do think they should be higher than that.
Okay. Jack Doyle will be 75. He'll be the odd man out.
Okay.
All right, cool. So we did that. Do you want to set any exposures to wide receivers or anything?
I think let's just run it so we can show people. The biggest thing to run this is the salary setting.
Okay. Any of the settings over here, I don't think you can see it on the stream, but do you want any 2 kickers, 2 defenses and lineups?
Yeah, so normally we would set that. No, we don't want 2 kickers in the same lineup. We don't want 2 defenses, but on this slate in particular, we might want that. So I would check those. Yes. Don't want 2 quarterbacks. Don't want 2 running backs, so we can get those out of there. The biggest thing though is the salary. Can you shrink the screen a little bit? Will it work if you shrink the screen size?
I'll change what it looks like in. I'll just change the crop in OBS. There we go.
Perfect. All right, so max salary target. Generally, we put the max, but Showdown will change that number. Here, as we looked at, if you're playing DraftKings or FanDuel, you want probably 10,000 less than the max, so like 40,000.
Yeah.
And then the min you can put all the way down to like 20,000. Maybe a little more. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. And we don't need to change the quarterback captain settings or anything like that. Max player exposure, I'm going to put it as 100.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep. And for shits and giggles, we'll maximize lineup diversity. Sounds
good. And Tick Boom says he's talking about 8 guys. Henry's in the contract. Injured. Yeah, I'm surprised Mark Ingram is playing, by the way. Nick Chubb, shouldn't he get the majority of the carries here? Yeah, and like Jake responds immediately after, the majority of the carries might be like 3 or 4. Like, they just don't run the ball in the Pro Bowl. So maybe he'll get a couple more receptions, but again, I wouldn't look too much into running backs here.
Yep. So, all right, so we saved our changes. Let's build it, and let's see what happens.
Boom, ready to go. Should take a couple seconds.
That was quick.
You put turbo? Yeah, that was super quick.
That was without turbo mode.
Oh, wow. Nice. All right, so let's go to the results and check out the salary usage to make sure. Yep, tons of salary left over.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. And we probably want to be even more aggressive with that. Because you'll see, we have Lamar Jackson here in a couple, and I think maybe DFS Magic is prioritizing quarterbacks in some way. So you'll have to play around. You won't be able to build instantly. You have to play around with the sun. But fortunately, you have 24 hours to start building lineups.
Yeah. As Jake points out, he says he saw some very popular and sharp sites recommending Kamara and Dalvin, so the edge is still there. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, we actually, if you look at DFS Magic, we did give a point bump for those 2 guys because of their pass catching abilities. But again, they can very, very easily score 1 point. So
yeah, exactly. Yep. Cool. Yeah. So I mean, again, another evergreen comment is like optimizers necessarily don't give you the answer. You still need to play around with it. You still need to. You can't just take 2 seconds like we did. We just kind of showed you how it works. Dig a little deeper, set a lot of your exposures, figure out stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, just go back to Jake's comment real quick. Alvin Kamara, yeah, he had 0.2 points last year. So, yeah, minimize running back usage. Maybe they score touchdowns, get a couple of catches, end up with 10 points, and end up in an optimal lineup. So for that reason, maybe you have 5% of each or something. But again, wouldn't have 2 in the same lineup. Wouldn't prioritize them whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. All right. So, any last closing thoughts?
I think that's it. So, Pro Bowl slate. Remember, this is a max allocation slate for us. So that doesn't mean 100% of your bankroll, but it means like 7 to 8%, which is a number we rarely reach during the regular season. So get as much action as you can using the strategies outlined here. If you need access to DFS Magic, become a member at OccupyFantasy.com. Membership's as low as $6 per week. It's certainly worth it for this one slate alone, I think. So send us a message if you don't have access. And other stuff going on. The props guide will be out on Sunday. Super Bowl props podcast will be out Sunday morning. DFS Super Bowl Showdown podcast. Jack and I are going to get together to talk all kinds of strategies for the Super Bowl. That'll be out Tuesday night. Mm-hmm. And then the daily plug specifically for Super Bowl, I think will be out Thursday. So lots of content coming your way. And then, of course, XFL right after the Super Bowl. Occupy Fantasy will be covering XFL. Very similar to how we covered preseason. So looking forward to it.
Yep. Thankfully, I don't have to build another model just yet.
Yeah. You got until March for PGA news.
Definitely. So cool. So with me, Moose at CFB_Moose on Twitter, at Brian Jester FF on Twitter, at Occupy Fantasy on Twitter. Go ahead and hit that follow, like, subscribe, whatever platform you're watching us on, and we'll be back at it again later. See you guys.
Take care.